has ever truly figured out Tom Brady. Sure, teams have slowed him down or stopped him for a bit here and there, but there is no book that you can turn to week in, week out to give him trouble. It was particularly challenging when he was on the Patriots, because they were constantly adapting every game to what you were doing. In their system, Tom was able to accumulate answers to every problem defenses could give him. If you showed him what you thought was new, he could draw on a game plan from 2000, 2009, or 2019 to solve that new problem. But now, in his first year with the Buccaneers, he has a different set of answers to all the challenges defenses present. And though he's riding high into Super Bowl 55, those answers will be tested. He and the Bucs are still learning their adjustments almost on the fly, and at times, that's caused issues. If any defense can exploit those issues, it's the reigning Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. Their defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo knows all about creating chaos for Brady. He was the coordinator when the Giants upset the 19-0 Patriots in 2007, and the Chiefs' veteran-heavy defense is capable of just as much destruction. They don't have the best stats or numbers, but they do know how to win in the playoffs, bring unrelenting pressure, and cause problems. Brady's always been prepared for everything, every look, in every way. But this year, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure. So the question is, how can the Chiefs cause pressure and take away his answers? The two key areas where they excel will be the foundation of their game plan. They have a vast array of exotic blitzes, and they're excellent at disguising those pressures and disguising their coverages in general before and after the snap. They blitzed at the 9th highest rate in the league, and they'll do it anywhere on the field on any down and distance. Back in Week 12, the first time they played Brady's Bucs, they masterfully disguised their blitzes and gave him hell. Take this example on 3rd and 3, where the Chiefs bring a cover 0 blitz, which means each defender is in man coverage and 0 because there are no safeties deep. However, because they position the safeties here, it could play out like a ton of different types of coverage. It could be cover 1 man with a robber safety. It could be cover 2 zone with both safeties playing deep halves, or really just about anything else. Brady assumes it is man since the corner's alignment suggests it and safety Juan Thornhill is over Gronk. So they run a typical man beater called mesh wheel, which we talked about the Packers using on last week's episode. It's designed for these shallow crosses to pick off the man defenders, and if the defense blitzes, oftentimes the edge rusher will have peel responsibility, which would match Antonio Brown on a pass rusher. But since the Chiefs disguise their 0 blitz and riskily have safety Tyrann Mathieu from way deep covering Gronk, and Thornhill also coming from depth to take Brown while the underneath corners play tight man coverage on the shallows, Brady has nowhere to throw. The wheel route is typically the hot receiver in this concept, meaning if Brady is a free rusher like this edge, he can forgo his read progression and throw to the open hot. But the Chiefs anticipated that would be his answer, and they had an answer of their own. Tom will have to go back and figure out how to make changes against the 0 blitz look so he can find a solution to beat it. But when he goes back to study the film, he can't just assume the Chiefs will run the same exact concept, cause it's just one of the variations of their many pre-snap disguises. On 3rd and 3 in the AFC Championship game, Josh Allen checks to mesh, similar to the concept the Bucs had used a few months prior. He sees the Chiefs are giving a man coverage look, so mesh should work. But he also remembers they dialed up the 0 blitz in the same exact situation with a somewhat similar pre-snap look. The Chiefs could be sending 6 with a slot corner and off-the-ball linebacker, but instead, they run under 1 rat double 14. They know offenses want to call mesh against their man coverages, so they send just 4, double Stephon Diggs, and use the rat linebacker to take the other shallow, switching responsibilities with the corner who drops into zone. There is nobody open. And yes, Allen squirted free for 17 yards, but if this is Brady, there's 0 chance he's extending with his old Abe Simpson legs. You can just tell watching games that Spags is excellent at self-scouting so he can make adjustments. Those changes maximize how he attacks weaknesses in the offense's protection, which lead to pressure opportunities. The Chiefs use a concept called Bears 1 Rat, which is man coverage with 1 deep safety, both ends drop off as rat defenders to funnel the running back, and it's a simulated pressure, which looks like an all-out blitz, but just rushes 4. There are a couple of reasons this was a good call, even though Brady completed the pass. When we go back to the very first play, when the Chiefs brought that all-out zero blitz, knowing the center typically slides towards the nose in protection, that usually leaves man blockers one-on-one on the backside. If Spags could get those man blockers to commit to the defensive lineman in front of them, the simulated pressure would work. When the Chiefs put the nose tackle to the right, they're expecting the right guard and tackle to man block the 2D lineman in front of them, which would open up a lane for the rushing Anthony Hitchens. Brady doesn't know if the safety is going to take the running back like he did before, so when he sees him covering the tight end, he actually gets fooled when the DN takes Fournette. But ultimately the call didn't work because Tyrann Mathieu started from too far away and couldn't play close enough coverage on tight end Cameron Brate. So what does Spags do to solve the problem? He tweaks his concepts and rewires them, irons out the kinks, and then unleashes them. Here on 3rd and 3, the Chiefs use the same Bears 1 rat call, but with different personnel and a slightly different formation to throw off the Bills. One weakness of the concept is dropping the D linemen into coverage and asking them to chase fast dudes in space. But here, Spags uses just 3 linemen and has 2 linebackers drop as the rats. Plus he now has Mathieu up close to the tight end and catches him near the line of scrimmage instead of playing from depth. Allen has Diggs open, but the simulated pressure makes him uncomfortable and speeds up his process. When he sees this secondary blitzer, his snap reaction is 6-man all-out blitz, but by rushing just 4, there aren't the holes in coverage that a typical 5 or 6-man blitz concept would have, and the appearance of pressure makes Allen rush. Brady, of course, has seen every simulated pressure in the book. That doesn't worry him, but if you take away his quick answers like Cameron Brate's out route, that does. It all comes back to how you disguise your pressures. But the Chiefs don't just stop at meticulously camouflaging their blitz looks, they go crazy with cover 2 zone as well. They play it 15% of the time, which is 7th most in the NFL, and often have multiple players sprinting around right before and after the snap. Tampa 2 zone is a variation of cover 2 zone. Both have 2 deep half safeties, but Tampa has a middle read player who runs through the center of the field. The old school version middle read defender called for a linebacker racing backwards at the snap. That required freakishly athletic guys like Derek Brooks or Brian Urlacher, since linebackers typically don't have the necessary speed to cover that much ground. And those guys are really hard to find. Well, when the Chiefs use their 3 safety package, which they use more than almost anybody, Tyrann Mathieu can become that middle read defender, turning a good concept into a deadly one. They can disguise it to look like any coverage, since it usually starts with 1 deep safety and Mathieu and Daniel Sorensen sitting underneath. Quarterbacks almost never expect such a bizarre rotation. They use the coverage multiple times against the Bills to great effect. Even when the Bills ran dagger, which can give Tampa 2 fits, the Chiefs shut it down with ease. Dagger is a vertical clear-out route designed to occupy the coverage deep so the dig route can bend inside towards that open space. Let's say this cornerback was a slow linebacker and he's a middle read defender. Well, he'd be sprinting backwards and would probably be worried about the vertical bending of the seam towards the open middle of the field, which would open that dig. But since Matthew's the middle read guy, isn't sprinting backwards at the snap and is coming from depth, plus is a really freaking good in coverage, he knows to pass off the vertical to the deep half safety and sit down on the dig. Though their wild Tampa 2 rotations have worked all season, these exotic looks are where Brady's wealth of experience comes into play. He knows if one defender is the tiniest bit out of position, gives the slightest tell, or even just looks at him kind of funny, he studied enough film over 2 decades to know what's actually about to happen. Here's Thornhill, who will rotate to the deep half, but looks like a 1-high safety. Here's Sorensen, who will drop way deep to play the other half. And Mathieu, who we know is the middle read defender. Even though the 2 corners are stacked at the top showing a man indicator, the running back Fournette motioning in with nobody following him tells Brady it's zone. Something about Sorensen and Matthew's positioning tips Brady they're dropping to their Tampa 2 look, so he immediately checks to a beater, smash, corner out. He knows the exact weakness of the coverage and knows the corner and out route will vertically stretch the cornerback. It's one concept that Spags and the Chiefs defense have to think over carefully. Do we try and disguise it better? Do we just flat out abandon it? Or do we try to fool him with those pre-snap Tampa tells and then roll into something completely different? If there's one thing both Spags and Brady know, it's that the Chiefs are going to blitz. Back in the Week 12 matchup, they blitzed him 21 times on 42 dropbacks. On those 21 attempts, he threw 2 interceptions, completed only 52% of his passes, and had just a 51 quarterback rating. It's certainly possible we'll see the Chiefs blitz even more, and Spags is holed up somewhere drawing up crazy designs as we speak. He knows pressuring Brady is crucial, but disguising those blitzes and the coverages behind them will be what's most important in taking away Brady's answers. The Chiefs will have to test whether he, his receivers, and offensive line have prepared a good enough plan with sight adjustments, hots, and protections to counter everything they'll throw at them. Brady will be looking for answers immediately after the snap, because the pressure will be on its way, and Spagnuolo knows better than anybody where he'll be looking and how to confuse him. The Chiefs are coming. They will unleash a hellstorm of blitzes, there's no doubt about it, and attack the man who's been winning rings since your entire team was still in Pampers. The champs will bring pressure, but can they take away Brady's answers, conquer the Buccaneers, and win again as the masters of disguise?